Is Booger McFarland there with us, Todd?
Sure is.
Booger McFarland, ESPN NFL college football analyst, and you can see him on NFL Prime with Chris Berman on ESPN Plus. How you feeling?
What's up, big fella? How we doing?
I'm good. When are you coming down for a Meat Friday?
You know what? We've been talking about this Meat Friday thing for so long. I think what we're gonna do is this. I'll be in Santa Clara, San Francisco, San Jose, wherever the hell we're gonna be at. I'm gonna put it on my schedule. If we're gonna do Meat Friday for the Super Bowl, I'll be there.
Okay. I got to make sure that I plan the menu for you in mind. Like anything off limits here?
As long as you don't have squirrel and possum, I pretty much eat everything else.
Seton, make sure we take squirrel off the menu.
I don't know if we could send it back, but okay.
Did you eat squirrel growing up?
When you grow up in the country, DP, you eat some of everything. I've eaten squirrel, rabbit, never ate possum or raccoon, but squirrel and rabbit definitely have eaten those.
All right, well, let's get to football stuff here. Sean McDermott was fired because what?
I think regardless of what the owner said and you know, that press conference and the debacle that it was, I think he was fired because when you look at it on the surface, they have the best quarterback in football. And I think over the last couple of years, he's proven that. And for that, they have nothing to show for it. And Josh Allen is entering his prime. And when you have the best player in the sport, kind of like when the Warriors had Steph Curry, when the Bulls had Michael Jordan, like you got to win something. You got to show something. And maybe, just maybe, Sean McDermott got them to the precipice the way that Mark Jackson did the Warriors, but you need Steve Kerr to get them over the hump. And so I think at its core, Terry Pagula is thinking that Sean McDermott got this guy to the precipice, but I need somebody else to get us over the hump. Now, the press conference and his reasoning for firing him, that's a whole nother story because he made a bunch of excuses and a lot of finger pointing. But I think at the core, the reason he fired him was because he couldn't get them over the hump.
Best coaching vacancy right now is where?
Man, I mean, before yesterday, I would have said Buffalo. I think it's Baltimore. I love Steve Bisciotti, man, because and how could you not after that press conference? Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta, what they do in Baltimore, the facility, just so many things. And on top of that, you got Lamar Jackson. I think that core group, that culture of going to work at that place every day, DP, to me would be the best. Also, Boog don't do snow and cold weather. So why the hell would I go to Buffalo? I'm not going way up there, buddy. No, there's no zero chance.
Okay, so that press conference, though, yesterday made you have some trepidation about Buffalo?
Because I saw two people who, we want our leadership to take advocacy and take ownership of the decisions that they make. There was seemingly no ownership yesterday. Brandon Beane started to waffle, and then Terry Pagula jumped in and basically said, hey, about that Keon Coleman pick. That wasn't on this guy. He was on the coaching staff. And then later he tried to come back and walk it back. When you're in a position of leadership, when you're right, you tell people you're right. When you're wrong, you tell people you're right. You're always the guy that stands up there and takes all the bullets. Yesterday was a masterclass in evasive maneuvers based on the answers to the questions. I think if you're a head coach, why would you go into that situation and work for Terry Pagula, or would you work for Steve Bisciotti? I think the reason people are going to choose Buffalo is because of Josh Allen. But if it weren't for Josh Allen, that job goes behind Tennessee. It goes behind Baltimore. But because of Josh Allen and because of his greatness and him being the best player in football, I think somebody notable is still going to take the job.
Booger McFarland from the mothership. Who has more pressure, Jarrett Stidham or Jarrett Stidham's teammates?
I think Jarrett Stidham, because I think the expectations of what Jarrett Stidham's teammates has been established throughout the season. The defense is going to be stellar. That the offense is going to be ran by Sean Payton. I actually would throw another variable in there, DP, Sean Payton, because Sean Payton has done something that I don't know if you guys have talked about. Remember when he was in New Orleans and Drew Brees missed those 5 or 6 games? Teddy Bridgewater came in and went 5-0. So Sean Payton has proven he can win with the backup quarterback. Now Jarrett Stidham is a better backup based on not my words, but based on Sean Payton's words, because Sean Payton told us Jared Stidham is one of the best 32 quarterbacks in football. So if that's the case, then pressure on you, Sean Payton. We've seen you do it before in New Orleans. Now can you do it again with Jared Stidham, who you told us was a better player? So I think the pressure is on Sean Payton. Everybody else can be themselves, but can Sean Payton coach a game that allows this quarterback to show the talent that you've told us that he has?
How can you tell when a moment is too big for a player when you're facing somebody?
When you do things that are uncharacteristics, or your athleticism doesn't come out. Prime example, CJ Stroud. We've seen CJ Stroud complete every pass on the football field, but on, was that Sunday, Saturday, or Sunday, whenever the game was played, he was throwing balls in the dirt. Like, he was throwing balls high in the dirt. He was trying to make heroic plays. That's when you know the moment is too big. That's when you know you're out of your comfort zone. It's no different than you, Dan. How could somebody tell when you're uncomfortable? It's because you would probably not be the seamless guy that you always are on the radio and television. You would start like you would start doing things that America doesn't normally see you do. It's the same way with a quarterback or any other player when you try to do things that you don't normally do.
Your MVP is who?
Drake May, because I think he's done more with less. Matthew Stafford has Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Sean McVay. What does Drake May have? Stephon Diggs coming off an ACL, Josh McDaniel, Keyshawn Boutte. Those are the guys that he's got. And I think that, when you look at the weapons and look at what they've done and look at the seed that they have, how could you not choose Drake May? Now, Matthew Stafford's numbers are going to be better, and they should be better. He's got a better receiving core. He's got a better team. I think you got to look at New England and say, man, what Drake May's done, man, like the kid is special in year 2, and I think the sky's the limit.
Explain to me, I don't know, let me ask you, who's your coach of the year? And then I'll have a follow-up.
Wow. Mike Vrabel, because of the level of achievement relative to expectations. What did they win? 14 games, 13 games? And I think most people would have said they were going to win 3 or 4. So when you look at what they did relative to the expectations that we had, how could it not be Mike Vrabel?
Well, we talk about culture. Now, as a former player, like, what does that mean when we talk about the culture in the locker room?
It's your ability to make decisions based on where you are and the people around you that you work with and the environment that you're in. When it's the off season and I am hanging out with my buddies and, we're deciding if we're going to gamble on the golf course, that's one culture. But when I walk into work, I know immediately when I walk into work, there's a certain way we do things. There's a certain way I carry myself. There's a certain level of decision making and decorum that I must have at my place of work based on my coworkers and based on my place of employment. That's culture. And I'm going to do those things when nobody else is around. I'm going to do those things when nobody else is watching. I always tell my children, I judge my level of parenting based on your level of decision making, not just when people are around, but when nobody's looking. I have to be a good enough parent where you make great decisions even when no one's watching. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Of course, everybody's got kids that knows that. But I think you can get a level of the culture in your home, of the culture in your workplace based on the decision making that your kids and your employees make. And here's the thing, Dan, haven't you often heard of this? The best led teams are what? Player led teams. If the coach has to tell you everything to do, then the coach probably hadn't done a good enough job itself.
I know you're a proud LSU alum.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I love Lane Kiffin because I think Lane Kiffin is going to bring, I know exactly where you're going. Like, I've been talking to you for years. I know exactly where you're going with this. Lane Kiffin was the perfect person for LSU at the time.
Now, where do you think I'm going with this? Where do you think I'm going with this?
Okay. My idea was that did I like the way it all went down of him coming from Ole Miss to LSU? Now, did I get that right or wrong? Okay,
wrong.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It feels like this is the end of the SEC from the standpoint of everybody responding, overreacting that the Big Ten has had 3 consecutive national champions. And, oh, my gosh, they're spending money. And I saw where I think it was Matthew Berry does college football for the mothership. It was like LSU is the final hope for the SEC. Like what happened here? That the SEC now hanging by a thread, and oh my gosh, look at what the Big Ten has done, and what's the future of the SEC?
I think we have recency bias, and we always have, and we always will. The Big Ten has won 3 in a row. Right now, the Big Ten is the preeminent college conference in college football because they've won 3 in a row and they've done it with 3 different teams. I think when you look at most people, and Nick Saban said it best, this era of college football has been changed based on the NIL and transfer portal. And Saban said it best. It's hard to get kids from down south to go up north unless you pay them. Well, guess what? We're paying them now. And I know he said that I know he said that tongue in cheek, but there's some validity to it based on the conversation you and I've had. I'm a Southern boy. Like I enjoy going to New York to visit around the holidays and seeing the tree at Rockefeller Center and all that good stuff. But Boog like the South, baby. But I think because Mark Cuban in Indiana, because Ellison, I think I have his name right, the big Michigan booster,
yep.
And all those guys, like because there's so much money in these northeastern and schools around the country, you're getting players that normally set in Tuscaloosa or set in Athens or set in Baton Rouge and waited their turn. They're like, why would I wait and play 2 years when I can go play 4 years and make $1 million? And so now the playing field has become leveled, so to speak. But all things are cyclical, but make no mistake about it. And I'm telling you and your cronies right now the same thing. The best conference in America is still the SEC. And if you don't believe me, just ask Greg Sankey.
Oh, do you think Greg Sankey would go, no, Booger, it's the Big Ten. You know better. It just feels like, hey, now everybody can pay. And as I was told, you either have tech money or oil money. And some of these schools in the SEC do not have tech money and oil money. And these other programs, Indiana winning the national title would be like Vandy winning the national title.
And Vandy won, 10 games this year?
Yeah.
So Vandy was close. Vandy was on the precipice.
Yeah.
Because, to your point, which would I rather have? I'd rather have oil money because oil money is pumping daily. It's coming out of the ground. So at some point, the tech industry goes up and down. We've seen that. Just go back and look at our stock market over the last 40 years. Tech goes up and down. You know what's not going up and down? That stuff that's coming out the ground. Because
yeah, but how many schools do you have in the SEC? Oklahoma and Texas that are pumping?
Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas's got got Walmart money. That's pretty good money. Last time I checked, they got 4 billionaires that are, own Walmart, Tyson Chicken. I mean, here's the one thing that I've been amazed by, DP, and maybe this doesn't amaze you because you're filthy rich. I have been amazed by the amount of money that people have in this country, and people that got money you didn't even know about. Like there are people at these schools that have billions with a B that you have never even heard of, and they've come out of the woodwork since NIL has become like the thing to be because they want to be known. They may not want the microphone, but they want people to know, hey, I'm helping school X, and I can do it because I'm a billionaire with the B.
Yeah, I know. They don't hold press conferences like Terry Pagula. they just said, all right, here you go. Here's some money. Private donation.
Here's a question for you. Hey, speaking of Terry Pagula, here's a question for you because I always have a question for you. If you're Keon Coleman and you just heard the owner and the GM basically said that we don't want you, how do you show back up to work in that building, or do you ask for a trade? How do you think the whole Keon Coleman thing works out?
Well, I would lay low for a little while, but I would realize my days are numbered, and I would say to, eventually your GM, can you find another location for me?
Interesting. Yeah. I think ultimately that's the way it's going to go. But I just feel bad.
I felt bad for the kid, though. I agree with you. Like he caught strays. Like, what did he do? I mean, I know he didn't play like they thought he was going to play, but who drafted him? And then they can't even agree on who drafted or didn't draft him, who wanted him, who didn't. And he's probably going, wait a minute, why am I trending here?
But guess what? He's no different than any other player like most of the time in your first or second year, you're trying to figure it out. Like he's a young, snotty-nosed kid. He shows up late. Guess what? I showed up late my rookie year. He's made some mistakes, but you know what you do? You bet on the talent that you drafted. You coach him up. You give him 3 or 4 years, and you see what kind of player development you get. And I think he could develop into a really good player. The problem is right now he's going to walk into that building, if he ever does again, and have zero confidence.
Yes, and I would too, because everybody's going to be wondering the same thing. How did you feel when you heard ownership and management talk about that? He is Booger McFarland of the Mothership, and you can catch him NFL Primetime, which can be seen on ESPN following the NFC Championship game, normally on ESPN Plus, but you're on the Mothership Sunday night. Look at you, big time.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, every now and then they put me and Berman on TV, and you'll get a chance to see it. And maybe you agree with this or not. I think he's the greatest, and this is no offense to you. I think he's the greatest highlight reader I've ever seen. Now, there's a bunch of you guys that are good. You, Stuart Scott, Van Pelt, Rich Eisen. I think Berman is the greatest ever. I don't know if you disagree or agree or where you think he ranks in there.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem with that.
He's phenomenal. And it for me, it's been really cool to kind of watch him and pick his brain and work with him. And I can't wait for Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm glad that they brought him back. I actually went to management. I went to Jimmy Pitaro, and I said, you've got to bring Chris back. And, to Jimmy's credit, he did bring him back. Because I said he is NFL primetime. There's nobody else that should be doing that. He's got the energy to do it. And when I went back for the anniversary, I did talk to him. And I said, it'd mean the world. I didn't want Chris to disappear. And I thought he was disappearing. And he meant too much to the place. He's the most important person who's ever walked in that building. And I said, name a building, have a statue, whatever. Just don't forget him. Him and Bob Lee, Tom Mees, never forget them. They might disappear from the public eye, but I just didn't want that to happen to Chris because in large part, I got my opportunity because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be in that environment, and Chris created that environment.
Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely tell him. Make sure he knows that you said that, man. He appreciates that stuff. Thank you.
Booger, good to talk to you, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Always, man. Look forward to it. You guys have a great day.
All right, we'll take a break. More phone calls coming up. Back after this.